Hello, my name is Jerusha, and I like to read. This is my first ever video on my first ever YouTube channel, so I beg your patience because I'm super new at this, but I just can't deny myself any longer. I love to read, I love talking about what I read, and all my friends have said, Jerusha, you need to have a YouTube channel. I'm like, fine, twist my arm, why don't ya? So, welcome. I hope you are excited and ready for this. I also have a blog, and the URL for that is jerushareads.blogspot.com. Feel free to go check that out as well, because I will have a more in-depth writing and review of the books that I read. So today, the first book that I'm going to be talking about is Graceling by Kristin Cashore. I read this book because I was going on thriftbooks.com and getting a couple of self-development books, and I needed another book so I could get a really good deal. So I asked my coworker, I was like, hey, what's a good book that I should read? And she said, Graceling for sure. And she and I have similar tastes in books anyway, so I just bought it. I didn't even read the blurb on the back or anything, or check Goodreads to see what other people thought about it. My coworker liked it, and so I figured I would like it. And I did, and I'm so glad that I read it. And but since reading this book and before this video, I ordered and received the next two books in the series, and I'm very excited to read those, and I'll probably do another video later, one for each of those other two books, and then one where I'm talking about the whole series. So let's get started. Allow me to read the blurb on the back of the book. Katza has been able to kill a man with her bare hands since she was 8. She's a Graceling, one of the rare people in her land born with an extreme skill. As niece of the king, she should be able to live a life of privilege. But, graced as she is with killing, she is forced to work as the king's thug. When she first meets Prince Po, graced with combat skills, Katza has no hint of how her life is about to change. She never expects to become Po's friend, she never expects to learn a new truth about her own grace, or about a terrible secret that lies hidden far away. So this book, I've loved how it was written. Katza, the protagonist, as it said, is a graced fighter. And what it means when you're graced is that your eyes are two different colors. And these extreme skills can be anything. We meet someone later in the book who is skilled with understanding and predicting the weather patterns. So she's a captain of a ship. Feels like a pirate a little bit. But she's able to weave her way in and around the seas to avoid the worst of the storms and make really good time from traveling from point A to point B. There are other people who are graced with mind reading, or they can feel the emotions of a room. They're graced with painting and things like that. Any possible skill you can have that would be super awesome and maybe superhuman, you can have. But Katza's is killing. I will definitely do a little bit. I will warn you if I do spoilers. So Kristin Cashore did an amazing job with this book, taking in both an element of fantasy and also incorporating dynamic real-world characters. I can definitely understand the motivations and hesitancies that some of the characters go through based on allusions to their previous experiences, and I appreciate that there is a lot of subtext, and it's kind of clearly communicated. We know right away how Katza feels about certain things, and her reactions to certain things that she faces later are clear as day. You knew that was going to happen, or you can even be surprised at how well she does something when she's faced with a certain challenge. One of the things that is commented on about a good thing about this book is the romance between Katza and Prince Po. So yes, a little bit of romance in there, not too much to be overwhelming, and it is tasteful in my opinion. There's not like hot, heavy, explicit scenes, and not that I'm squeamish, but I definitely prefer not to read those kinds of things myself. Not only does Kristin Cashore have really awesome main characters, her background characters, the ones that she introduces briefly, you understand their motivations, and they seem real and personable, and I really appreciate that, because it is hard to demonstrate a good human being or even illustrate a bad human being in just a few pages or in just a few words. I find that her work was really good, very well written. I highly recommend it. And so if you're looking for a new fantasy, young adult kind of novel, you're going to want to pick up Graceling by Kristin Cashore. And you might not be able to see the cover very well because my lighting I'm still working on. But highly recommend it. So spoilers, my personal review, things that I don't like when I come into a book that I'm reading. One thing that I don't like is when there are modern opinions on situations that may occur in a book. And the reason why Katsa believes that she is skilled with killing is because when she was younger, there was this kind of creepy guy that was in her king's court, and he was kind of lascivious and making her feel uncomfortable. And as soon as he kind of turned his attention toward her, she went on the defensive and accidentally killed him. And you find this out like shortly in the beginning. So that's why she thinks her Grace is killing, because she has superhuman speed and strength and endurance, and her uncle, who is a pig, honestly, manipulates her and tortures her in a sense, making her believe that she's nothing more than a hired hand. One of the problems that I don't have a problem with women being super strong or anything like that. One of the things that I do have a problem with is that several times in the book, there are situations where it's expected? No, or that's words. Sorry. There's times in the book where if there weren't precautions in place by a loving father or brother or things like that, then it's assumed that men with nefarious motivations would have their way with innocent women and girls. And that makes my blood boil, period, end of story. But the one thing that I had a problem with in this story, in this context, was that Katsa decides to kind of go around at the end and teach self-defense to women and girls to help them protect themselves from those kinds of situations. And I love that idea. I think every woman and girl and man even should take a self-defense course so that they can be prepared for hopefully something that never ever happens, because no one should be victimized like that, period. But it was heavily handed in the book. It happened 2 or 3 times where a situation like this came up, and Katsa or another person had to intervene and protect a girl or a woman in the situation. And I was like, you're bringing this moral situation into the story too many times, and I didn't appreciate it. Also, there were some times when situations occurred so quickly that I had to go back and reread a couple of pages because I'm like, okay, we're at point A, and then we somehow jumped to point D, and I missed B and C, and honestly, B and C were skipped. And so there could have been times when the events could have been placed a bit more carefully. It reminded me of the third Hunger Games book, when events are just happening so quickly, like you can't keep up and it doesn't really make any sense. But situations like that only happen a total of 2 times in this book, and I appreciated how everything was handled afterward. As far as like the climax scene, the scene of the most tension, I was definitely on the edge of my seat and worried about what was going to happen and how things would be taken care of. And then Katza, with her amazing strength and endurance and love for Prince Po, she is able to overcome the situation and save everyone just by her superhuman strength and speed. And I was scared. Honestly, I was scared. I was like, what is going to happen? And it all ended well, and I was like, yay! So this was an enjoyable read. I don't think it would be the best book I've ever read, because I did have some issues with the event and timing of a few things. But it's a great story. The characters are well developed. And a couple of plot twists in there are very good. I really enjoyed them. And the way that Katza grows as a woman and as a person, redefining herself when she gets herself out of the situation with her uncle King Rhonda and kind of defining who she is, that was really rewarding to read and see her change. So if you would like things like this, fantasy, kind of a budding romantic relationship, like I said, please check out my blog. I have a few recommendations on there based on different things that I have read. And so if you like this, you might like some of those things. So if you like this video, please like and comment with books or recommendations that you would have as well for me to read, because I would love to read what you want to read, but you don't have time for, because I find the time to read and not everybody can, so I'm here to help you, kind of get through all the rubbish that's out there, impossible things that you can read, so you can sit down and cozy up with a good book and make the best use of your valuable and limited relaxation time. So thanks for joining me on Jerusha Reads, and I hope you have a wonderful time. See you later!